Wook Plus Live.
Oh, welcome back to Wook Plus. I am Weekend Wook, joined by Kev the Great Went. It's just the two of us tonight. He has some personal shit to take care of. No set list either. We're gonna freeform it a little bit, but I think it's gonna be one of those fishy nights. They're my favorite. I like
Gotta
all
be.
the other shit we talk about, but I really like talking about fish. What's up, Kev? How
Because
you
next
doing,
week, next week, basically, it's going to be the summer tour preview show on Wednesday because we're just going to be all pumped up and hyped for Friday's starting tour, which is 10
man?
days,
Yeah.
I guess, from now, something like that.
I can't believe it. It's here finally. It's one of those things that you like look off to, and it's like, man, it's never gonna get there, and then all of a sudden, it's around the corner. Uh, it's a good thing and a bad thing. The spring and early summer flew by this year. I remember feeling the same thing with the Sphere. I was like, oh, that because we knew about it for so long. I was like, man, I can't wait to fucking. And then it was like gone. And you're like, what happened? And now tour's here, and then all of a sudden, tour will be over, and we'll be like, fuck.
I fear for everyone's health once Dix is over, and they said the next thing's Mexico. I don't know what we're going to do for 6 months.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Well, I've heard rumors that they're going to be doing a benefit show up at SPAC
Okay.
again in like October or something.
Can we do a benefit tour?
They to my benefit. They should benefit me.
I really want them to play the Baltimore Arena. We're getting big bands, Pearl Jam, big names coming through.
Who plays at Baltimore Arena?
I've seen Rush there. Yeah,
no, I mean, like, what sports team?
No, there's no sports. Like the Harlem Globetrotters, they have the circus.
So it's like
there.
an arena specifically for like concerts and shit.
Well, the Bullets used to play there, and the Blast used to play there, which was the soccer team, and the Skipjacks, which was the hockey team.
What the fuck are you talking about? It's like you live in a whole different country. I'm like, no idea what the fuck you're like.
The Bullets became the Washington Bullets after being the Baltimore Bullets, and then they became the Wizards.
Wizards is way better.
No, do you know, like, everybody thinks it's Bullets like a gun, but Bullet was a rip-off shoe that looked exactly like a Chuck Taylor Converse All-Star. And they basically funded the team in the beginning, and that's why they were the Baltimore Bullets, because they all wore these shoes.
That's cool.
That's why you guys tuned in.
Yeah, Jason,
earlier what show this is.
No, so we'll get pumped up for tour, but also probably I don't know if we're gonna do something on Friday or Saturday or some point, but I'm excited to get into this new studio album and listen to that and see where things stay. Did you hear Life Saving Gun they dropped? Oh, is that 2 days ago, a day ago?
Love it. Love the you had Evolve, which is this radio friendly tune that I want to ask you something about.
Terrible.
We can get into Evolve in a bit. I want to ask you something about that. I've been thinking. Then we had Oblivion, which was a little darker. Hey Stranger, kind of funky poppy, and then Life Saving Gun, which it's still, I feel like, held on to the raw and the quirkiness of the January studio version, even though they added bass and drums and fleshed it out for the full band. And the breakdown in the middle when it's all janky, that's perfect. That's one of the best things
love
I've heard.
Janky Fish. It's one of my favorite. I don't know. I mean, you're right, but I don't know why Evolve is radio friendly because it's not a great song, like at all. I would say Oblivion is should be the radio friendly song. I feel like, generally speaking, people listen to shit radio, and that's why you could say things like that. I really do not like. I don't like Studio Evolve. I really don't. Like, I don't. The live version in Vegas was starting to grow on me, but the studio version just not doing it.
Yeah, let me ask you. So you have Evolve, right? I was thinking about Touch of Grey. Do you think that Fish could have a Touch of Grey moment, or is the apparatus of music not set up where you can have a top 10 hit song like the Dead did?
Yeah, I don't think they can. And I don't know, but I'm not sure. I'm not certain if it's the apparatus or if it's the accessibility. I feel like the Grateful Dead did a really great job, whether it was on purpose or not, of just being, because I think it's because it was like folksy American, like classic rock. And like the jam and the subculture was like, once you dove in, then you got immersed in it, right? But on its outward face, it was like another folksy rock band. Whereas like
Right.
FISH wears it on the sleeve, you know what I mean? Like it's very like in a lot of ways, there's like gatekeeping too, right? Like I feel like if I were trying to get into FISH later in life, I feel like it would be harder, right? Like
Yeah.
I would try, and then I would see everything. I'd be like, no, fuck this, you know. And then
Too
I don't
much.
know.
Yeah. Much respect to all the people who got in over COVID and since then. Because some of them know as much as I do now, and I'm like, damn, you did the intense crash course
I
on
love
that.
those people though. Like the kid, like I say kids, they're not like kids, but like they're in like
Right.
their 20s or early 30, like 20s, right? And then like they just drop all this knowledge. And you're like, damn, like what festivals you go to, or what, you know, thinking
Yeah.
like they started like 97, 98, and like I started in 21, and you're like, wow, you're good for you, man. You know a lot of shit.
Do.
Fucking well done,
Okay,
sir.
so to take it further, you have
Yeah.
Evolve. Let's say Evolve does get millions of Spotify plays. It really catches on.
There's
It
no
ends up
way.
on, playlist. Let's say that happens. Then somebody goes and listens to the rest of the album. The thing with the Grateful Dead and In the Dark, they listen to Touch of Grey. The next song's Hell in a Bucket. It's a straight out rocker. And then Push Shove is a funky blues song. They listen to this FISH album and they're going to get the Life Saving Gun and be like, what the hell's going on? This isn't the band that did Evolve. This is like totally.
No, but I appreciate your premise, but I think you got it backwards. I could imagine something like Life Saving Gun or Oblivion getting out there and people being like, oh, that's pretty good. Let me check this out. And then they hear Evolve, and then they're like, what is this fucking Wiggles hunky dory Miss Rachel bullshit? Like, it's, you know what I mean? It sounds like kid music. But like, I think Life Saving Gun has a lot of potential for like outside of the scene. I don't know.
Right.
I'm so myopic and so fucking like disconnected from reality and normies at this point. My take on this means nothing. Right? I'm
Right.
telling you what normal people would say, and I'm the furthest thing from a normal person.
Right. Well, what are you looking forward to? I'm really interested in hearing the two Valdez, and I listened to Human Nature, Mike's band doing it. I'm really interested to see what FISH does that. But there's a song that apparently Valdez that he's never played, or he only played at the Mission Ballroom once.
Yeah, and they spelt it wrong, which was weird. I don't know. That one, I guess. Honestly, the two that I was most excited about were Oblivion and Life Saving Gun, and Life Saving Gun lived up to my expectations. In hindsight, I really liked Oblivion Studio when it came
You were
out.
big on it when it came out.
Yeah, and I still do, but in hindsight and like thinking about it, I still think there was a missed opportunity. I think with I love the song, right? Like when they play it live, and since I heard it debut, I'm a huge fan of the song. I was pretty high on the studio version, but now I'm like, they could have given it the thread, everything's right treatment. I really gotten a big and the tambourine. I was like, oh, it's okay. Like everybody's like, oh, fuck the tambourine, and I was like, no, it doesn't bother me. And I've listened to it like maybe like 4 or 5 times since then, and now I can't stand it. It just hits me. I'm like, oh god, why are you doing that? And it's such a straight beat. FISH has funk in his fingers. He could add little nuances and make it so much more interesting. But I feel like Trey just watered them down. He's like, no, FISH, this is what the beat is. Or maybe FISH did it because he's getting old in the surgery and shit. But like, I don't know. I feel like it's lost its touch a little.
He had Chris Myers surgery there a few years ago.
What were the other tracks?
The well is only
that's
on
the
album.
bonus track, right?
Right, which is killing me because you aren't going to hear it for a while unless you order the album, and until somebody gets the album and converts it to an MP3 and puts it up on YouTube or whatever, you know.
You say a while, I say Saturday it's going to be on Discord, and Sunday it'll be going through all the socials.
Do you think that the album? Oh, because you're going to be able to go physically buy the album somewhere on
Yeah, and
Friday.
there are pre-orders that are shipping and stuff. FISH fans are, you know,
very, very much resourceful.
Yeah, man, that's what I love about them.
Is this a good segue?
I don't know what we don't have a fucking set list, so go for it, homeboy.
Well, the segue would be to the Tiny Desk concert, and you're saying, somebody will get the Well song out, and yesterday, as we all know, Trey did Tiny Desk. It was being recorded.
Oh, to be traded? I thought FISH did. Wasn't it the whole
FISH
band?
did. FISH,
okay.
Yeah.
They
FISH did, and they did the Tiny Desk thing, and They asked everyone to please, don't get on social media about it. Don't ruin it for everyone when it comes out next Tuesday. And some people went right online, put the set list, and it just seems a very, very like
Are we not
hubris.
saying his name? Is it the
Well,
name?
I'm
Is
not
it
trying to call
Voldemort?
anybody out because other people
Why
might have
not? It
done
was a
it too.
dick move. Listen, it's not like cancelable, right? Like, I'm not saying like, oh, fuck that guy. Like, we should but like, I feel like it's okay to say, hey, that was kind of cringy. Like, that was kind of a shitty thing to do. Like, not like, I'm not saying like, I don't wish ill on him. And I don't think like, I don't want to overinflate it, right? But like, I think you should be able to say, hey, man, that was kind of fucked up. Like, why'd you do that?
It seemed very, hey, look at me.
Yeah. Well, okay. This is where I take exception, though. I feel like everything you put on social media is, hey, look at me. Right? Like, I do it. I fucking color a fucking picture like a 5-year-old, and I'm a grown-ass man, and I tweet it because, like, look at me. But like, or you with your fucking witty stat about a fucking band. Like, so I don't fault him for that. I feel like everybody that tweets or posts or whatever, there's a little bit of look at me, if you're being honest.
Well, right, but what if the look at me went something like this? Got to see the FALLON Tiny Desk. Can't wait for you all to hear it next week.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. No, I think what he did was a dick move, but the fact that it was look at me alone is hypocritical to me. Right? I think people that are on social media but don't and post actively, like, aren't lurkers, but think that they're not look at me, I think are in denial. Like, that's the whole fucking premise of it, is affirmation and the endorphins you get from the likes.
Right. I knew a couple
Jake
people who were
Sherman,
there.
I'll say it. So there's some people that are confused in the chat. So Jake Sherman tweeted out the set list, like, apparently minutes after the band, or at least right after the show, after the band apparently said many times, do not share it. And we know a couple of people that were there that shared it privately and were like, hey, and they're like, don't share this. And we were like, cool, we won't share it.
I wanted to know. I asked, but I wasn't going to tell anybody. I just had to know because I had to know,
Right.
So, anyway, so that's the thing. And then I guess I open up a can of worms because a lot of people were like, well, it's in relics, it's all over the place. And yes, it is, because someone let the genie out of the box, whatever.
It is kind of weird how upset you got about it, though.
I wasn't that upset. I was just working through my arguments with you guys.
Oh. Well, the fact that you were working out arguments is further upset than I would have expected for this, right? Like, this is something I heard from you, right? And I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of a dick move. But then I did think twice about it, and then to find out it's evolved into this whole thing.
Right, but I mean, I guess that's the thing of the band. If the band didn't say anything, they didn't care. But I think they wanted it to be something special that everybody got to see, and it was,
Yeah.
Anyway, and then somebody brought up GameEng. And they had everybody sign the NDAs, but this was an NPR thing. This wasn't a FALLON thing. You know what I'm saying?
I didn't think the NDA thing made any sense. That's when you have legal repercussions and, like, to protect intellectual property and shit. Like, this, it's just more of like a cringe. Like, don't. Although I bet if Jake Sherman knew about fucking GameEng, he would have tweeted that shit.
Right? They should have done a Jack Black thing and made everybody use those bags. And, like, steal your phone off. They put your phone in and they magnetic close it so you can't use it.
Yeah. They're doing that with Deadpool right now because they're playing like the first 40 minutes over in different Asian countries, and apparently
they're playing the first 40 minutes and that's it.
Yeah, they're not for everybody. It's they're what do you call that? Test screening. Like, they're getting like, I don't know why the fuck they're doing test screening 2 weeks before it comes out. Like, they're not going to change anything. Like, what the fuck's I think they're trying to generate hype without generating leaks. This is a weird tangent. Yeah, so I mean, I am excited to see the tiny desk. I don't think that's like the best way to showcase FALLON, right? Like, it's going to be a novelty type thing. But it's not going to be like, I'm going to listen to this all the fucking time. Like, it's just going to be like, oh, that's funny.
Well, it's Media Blitz week. They're doing that. And then, of course, tomorrow night, we're getting FALLON. We're going to get them on there. And, then the album's going to come out. But
good for them. I like that they're doing an actual Media Blitz and trying to, like, get album sales.
Right.
I feel like they were so passive in the past. They were just like, we don't care. We're not gonna, try. But I don't know why they're trying this time. But I'm glad they are.
All right. Well, I mean, it costs a lot to make an album.
Yeah, and they're not doing a fall tour. That was their choice. They're like, we could do a media blitz and try to sell a bunch of albums, or we could just do like 4 shows in the fall. And they're like, fuck you, we're just going to do the media blitz.
Right. So it's definitely going to be Evolve, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's probably going to be the one that airs, right? Like, isn't that how that works? They usually play like 2 or 3 songs, but they only air one
right?
live.
Yeah. And the one time
they should not air Evolve live. That's such a bad move.
That's what made me start thinking about the Touch of Grey thing, because it's going to be on TV and everybody's bedrooms. They're going to be going to bed. Oh, that's a catchy tune, and they'll fall asleep to it and wake up humming it and look for it. And
nobody watches late night TV live late at night on a TV. Like boomers and elder Gen X do that. What it is going to be on YouTube the next morning. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's how everyone I know watches. Like,
I'm going to try to watch it
on late night
if I remember. But I think that TV show with Fallon comes on when Perry Mason is on. So
when it's at 11:30. Who's Perry Mason?
Do you watch Perry
Mason every night?
I do. It's on every night. I love it. Della Street. What's his name? Paul Drake, the detective. It's like the blueprint for Law and Order. The first half of the show is the crime and figuring it out, and the second half is the court part.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but that's
I'm
cool.
a big fan of 70s detective shows, because they were all like,
they all it's a 70s detective show. I thought it was like a
Perry
late night host or something.
Perry Mason's earlier than that. That was the early 60s. My granddad used to watch Perry Mason. Maybe that's it. Remembering my ute watching reruns.
That's interesting.
That is. So I walked today, right? I've been every day trying to walk out in this heat to get in training for Mondegreen, right?
Yeah.
And it's killing me, man. I'm worried. I feel like
have you been drinking water? That would probably be a better use of your time.
Right. No, drinking water, but I need to dive deep into like staying cool, like getting some ice, like something you can put your feet in with ice water, because apparently that'll cool your whole body, because your blood circulating. And I just, I mean, me and you, we're not little guys, and it's gonna be hot, and it's just...
yeah. I'm getting one of those goofy ass sun hats that like has a wide brim to keep the sun off your neck and everything, give you some shade, but also breathes.
Well, they have the cooling ones too. You put in water and they drop your temperature by like 20 degrees.
I have a cloth thing that you put in water and wring it out, and you put it over your neck or whatever, and it keeps you super cool. I'm gonna do that. And then I'm just gonna do a lot of alcohol and other substances, so I just don't fucking care until afterwards.
Right. I tell you what, I'm gonna bring pickle shots. You ever done pickle shots?
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, well, it's for cramps and dehydration. When my kid played softball, they used to do them. When they did like 8-hour softball tournaments in this kind of weather, they would do pickle shots because it has all this stuff in it that rehydrates you, like electrolytes and all.
I feel like there's better, less disgusting ways to hydrate.
Well, they sell them. Mount Olive sells them. They look like what are those?
You just like fucking Pedialyte. That's what you should do. That shit hydrates you instantly.
Yeah.
Or Gatorade, right? Jason, my truck has a 45 or 50 gallon tank, so that is certainly on the table. Apparently, I read something that you're not allowed or not supposed to run your fucking car, but all the cars are going to be lined up away from the camp. So
we should, yeah. I mean, look at that picture. If you're running your car, you're probably going to be screwing someone else, because people are not all going to park at the one end. Somebody's going to drive through and park at the far end of their 10 by 30.
Yeah. Well, obviously, if my tailpipe is in somebody's tent, I'm not going to do it, or I'll turn my car around. But I'm just saying, running AC is certainly probably going to happen. I think, at least for a little bit.
Gotcha.
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. So wait. So let's go back to this Fallon thing. So you think it is evolve? Do you think that would be a good idea? That like that's going to translate to the masses?
I think. Okay, there's they released 4 songs, right? 2 of the 4 songs had merch attached to them, so they're like the ones that I think they were putting all their cards.
2
on.
of them did.
Yeah, Evolve and Oblivion. They should make that life-saving gun into a shirt though, with just the word. That would look cool. Like a Cheap Trick has that same kind of pattern.
Yeah. All right.
I just feel like it has to be. I think that when they're there, they'll probably do Evolve and Oblivion, but I think Evolve's the one that's going to get broadcast.
Well, somebody said they air 3 songs. They can't be Evolved. They have to know at this point. Oh, that's what I was going to do. I want to show you something.
They have to know what at this point.
That Evolve is a big fucking clunker, and then nobody wants it. Is that too harsh? That might have been too harsh.
No. A lot of people like Evolve, man. If you check out the Twitter, a lot of people like it. So other things, I've been making a list.
A list of what?
Stuff that we need to bring. Duct tape, wire ties, trash bags, tarps.
I want to publish a list. I think that would be cool. Yeah, I actually was going to start. I didn't want to ask all the old fucks because I feel like everything changed since like Lemon Wheel, but I'm going to start. I think with Fishtails, I'm going to include, or while I interview, I'm just going to ask people like what advice and what's your packing list, and then do like a epilogue with like a Wook's guide to festivals. Right, that would be kind of cool. Where like people just say the shit they're gonna bring here. We could record yours now. What are your top 3 recommendations that people should bring?
Top 3. You have to bring duct tape because you can fix anything with duct tape, from your shoe blowing out to your tent or anything. I would say Gold Bond.
I've heard about that. Yeah,
it gets hot and it gets sweaty, and more water than you think you'll drink. Twice as much water. Buy gallons of water. And just drink gallons of water instead of 8-ounce bottles of water.
I need to put somebody on Wooder detail, like just to be like remind me or like make sure, because like I am the worst. Like I'm a grown man. Like I should be able to do that for myself and not have to ask somebody to help me. But like I suck at drinking water.
My plan is every time I grab an alcoholic beverage out of the cooler, I'm going to also grab a bottle of water. So I'm going to take them both at the same time. And before I go back to the cooler, I'm going to finish both of them.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm going to get like that Mio energy shit. So it's like tastes good and also gets me really caffeinated, but also hydrates.
Right. All those electrolyte things, I never know which ones are the best. There was one that Bob Weir was part of at one time.
Well, you know,
he like advertised. Good. Strange.
We just flew through our set list in 25 minutes.
It was close.
That's
it was
all
close.
right. I'm starting to get some more people involved with the festival sets. So
who's going to be the guest coming up? Anybody you can talk about?
Yeah. So JW, Josh from Stub Me Down, still going to be on, right? Like we already introduced him. And Benji's still going to be in on occasionally, but we're going to introduce Brian from Attendance Bias. He's going to be on for some of them. And Skinny, I think the plan is to have him on. And then also, finally, going to get some female voice in there. I think Jen Bernstein's going to do some of them, and Harley. So it'll be good. Nice. It'll I think it's going to, we'll keep the same flavor and keep the same general, I don't know, flow of it, Thanks, man. Yeah, that Cypress one was fun. It was crazy, but it was fun. I like that. We'll keep the same flow, but like also I think it evolves and gets a little more modern as the festivals get more modernized. Problem is, I don't think I can keep as we introduce more guests. I don't think we can keep the same share. Right, like when it was 3 people, you each had a third of it. It was like roughly 10 minutes. Some of these are gonna have like 5 or 6 guests, so
They'll have 3 or 4 minutes.
Right.
You know, some people
I don't
might
know, like I shouldn't feel like obligation or guilt or something, but I feel like people take the time to do the interview. I want to make it even and fair, but like I just got to tell everybody, like, listen, I'm going to try to edit it to tell the best narrative and the best story, and however it fits in. It might be a minute, it might be 10 minutes.
Well,
you know,
you've been good at like, if I have a good story about getting there, I'll be heavier in the front, and then Benji has a good story about leaving, and Scott, they're heavier at the end. So, I mean, I think you balanced it out. And if somebody's like one of these people you're talking to has the best tower story ever, they might be your whole tower story section,
So I have 3, which I think is probably super evident, but like I have 3 approaches to it, right? If you're talking about the same thing, I do rapid fire between all the guests, right? So you're talking about like, oh, that hood, or like the glow stick war, or the whatever. It's like almost where I have you guys finishing each other's sentences, right? If they're different stories in the same like times period, right? Like different stories about showing up to the festival, but you're not talking about the exact same thing. You can really only do like 3 people at most, 2 or 3. So then it's a little bit of a slower, back and forth. But what I do is I'll pair you off. So like I'll have guest A and B do a back and forth for a few beats, and then C and D go back and forth for a few beats, and then those 2 pairs will switch back and forth like the measures over like, does that make sense? You know what I mean? To like keep your attention, because I was playing with it, and if you're telling different stories with like 4 guests, it's too hard to follow it, right? And like there's no stakes to it. I feel like you need to keep the whatever you call that, like the tension and the stakes as you're going through the story to like have the punchlines. It's cool. I'm learning a lot. I mean, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. I'm just figuring it out. But it's like, the longer we go, the more I figure out.
Kitty's there. So also something I shared with you earlier. Let's talk a little bit more about Mondegreen.
Okay.
They're saying somebody sent me a screenshot of an email they got about vending, and they said that they are expecting 50,000 people per day.
Hey, sorry, what was that? I got a message
from your wife.
Yeah, it's all right. She's good now.
50,000
I just wasn't listening to you.
Right. It's 50,000 people per day is what they're expecting.
That sounds big to me. He said that sounds small, but the numbers for the later festivals were lower than that, weren't they?
Right.
What do you make
Clifford
of
Ball
that?
was Clifford Ball was 60. I think the Went was 75 and was the biggest, and then Lemon Wheel was like 65.
Yeah. But then but Magna Ball and Super Ball and stuff, I feel like we're under 50.
Oh, definitely. I think Super Bowl was tiny. I think Indo Festival 8 was tiny because it was October in California. It was kind of weird. That
50 would be fun. I think that'd be fucking great. Yeah, C was saying Magna Bill was like 40K. Hey,
right, so basically
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say basically the vending, apparently they're going to have a shakedown situation in each of the general admission campgrounds, because you can buy a north or south pass, or if you're going to try to set up in both, they can give you a discount, and you get a 10 by 10 square, or you get a 10 by 20 square, and the 10 by 20 square is going to cost you about $4,200. But that
but you got to imagine that you would make that pretty quickly.
Right. I think from what I'm getting, it includes tickets, and it also includes your camping.
Right, which is what, like 600-700?
Yeah,
400? I don't know. Yeah.
Right, but then they're going to give you 5 credentials, 2 tables, 4 chairs, Wi-Fi, power strip, shared storage space, a camping spot, and signage. And the 10 by 20, they give you even more. So they're giving you power. They're going to make sure you have your tables and chairs so you don't have to bring them. So I'm like on the fence about this. It's like, well, they've thought about it and they care that you know, they're trying to make it as easy as possible that you don't have to haul everything else with camping for
So
5,
what are you
6
on the
days.
fence? What are you on the fence about?
That they're charging so much money for it.
I don't think that's that much money.
I guess not. You got to have a big seller though. Like you can't just be the guy in there with a couple shirts. You have to be one of these mega people.
No, that's not what it's for. But that's not what festivals and even the fucking like dicks and stuff. That's not what the lot is anymore. Army bags of T-shirts and guys walking around selling it. That's like the past, right? Like I feel like it when we were, I forget where we were. I think it was at Dick's or fucking Deer Creek or something. They have like fucking pull behind trailers with like tiki huts and like Cosmic Charlie's and the pizza guy. And
I wanted to have a couple dozen shirts to sell. You know, maybe
still do that. Fucking do that. You were never technically allowed to do it when you did it, and you just did it. So just do it now. The whole point of this is for like the legit vendors. And honestly, I think it's probably a good thing, right? Like to fucking have them all in one area and organized and have the Wi-Fi so you could fucking pay with your card.
And they get to load in on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So they'll be there.
If I were fucking loaded, I would buy it and
then just camp there.
Just camp there.
Camping, right? Well, you know,
camp next to Cosmic Charlie, so I could just fucking get a burrito whenever I wanted.
But I mean, if we had the money, we could, in theory, we could have vended and had a Wook Plus place set up on Shakedown.
That's what I mean. With the power strip and the Wi-Fi, it would be fucking perfect. We could broadcast.
So we need how much?
If we have any really wealthy fans that would really like some live broadcast from the festival, hit us up.
The 10 by 10 spaces are going to run about 2,300.
That's it? You get all that other shit?
Yep.
I say that as if I had $2,300. I don't. Like, I'm not going to be able to flip it. I don't know, man. My perspective on all this shit is so far off.
Yeah, that's crazy. Maybe it doesn't include the tickets. I don't know. Very interesting, though. And the rise of this, I guess Dead & Company was doing it. But, I mean, we've seen this at festivals for many, many years. But festivals, they say they aren't taking a cut. Festivals like to take a cut even. They're like, all right, we're going to charge you $4,000 to vend, and you have to give us 10% of your total.
Yeah, which is fucked up because the margins aren't that great.
That means you barely break even, probably, that 10%. You know, you hear bands say that with merch when clubs take part of the money from merch.
Yeah, I think it's fucked up, but I'm in support of what PHiSH is doing. I think we'll see how it actually works and looks and everything. And like, I'll reserve the right to be like, nah, fuck that. That was messed up afterwards. But I think it's all right. I think that there's seasoned enough vendors at this point that are legit fans that go and do this every year, every tour. And like, I think if they're the ones getting it and it's accessible and like the whole sales system is worked out to where it's not a bunch of like, you know, non-fans coming in and swiping in. Like if the people I see on lot at all the different shows that the road warriors that are always there are getting taken care of and getting prime real estate to fucking make as much money as possible, then I support it. If it's like away and like, you know, they're not, and it doesn't work out financially, then probably not. But I think it's probably a good thing.
Right. Let me ask you this. I do not know what the laws in Delaware are for the Devil's Gas, but do you think that the Nitrous Mafia is going to pay to have people buy tickets and come into the campground?
Oh, I thought you were going to say pay to have a fucking vending spot. So you just show up.
No, yeah. I mean,
like a
I'm just thinking they probably do the day-by-day parking and then pay for these kids to run in like they do with the balloons. But do you think it's worth it for them to pay $500 a pop for each person selling the balloon? You do?
Yeah. You know how Fuck.
I guess
All
that's
they
a
gotta
dumb
do is
question.
park next to T, and they'll fucking make their festival costs back in the night.
Right. So a friend of mine had their said that nitrous had to do with their retina becoming detached.
Oh, really? I've never
Man,
been
I'm
a
like,
big nitrous guy. Like, I don't judge people that do it, like, at all,
right.
right? But, like, that's the one thing that I've never really I don't know. I never felt super turned on by and I think part of it is because I have tremendous anxiety and the sound of popping balloons just well, you've been with me after shows, like, it fucks me up when I hear that, like, the gunshot balloon pop
Right.
sound, like, it just I get all shaky and shit, so
Right.
I'm
The
not a
man
big
sounded
nitrous
like a
guy.
war zone. The man
Yeah.
sounded like a war zone.
Yeah, and like, well, and fucking coming like, no, the coming out of MSG with that tunnel thing, and they would set up right there,
There, and it would echo.
through the whole thing, and then it fucking pops in the city, the balloon popping with the echo when it's that loud. Holy shit!
I heard
Yeah.
they cracked down this past summer, last
Well,
summer, and
that started during the Bakers. You watched it every night. They got pushed further and further back, or every like set. So like the first weekend they were in the tunnel. Then the midweek shows they were like on the street corner. Then they were across the street at like Hotel Penn, and then by the end of it, you had to go like 3 blocks to get fucking nitrous.
to find it, which is good. That means a lot of people don't do it. I think it's one of those things people are walking. Oh, cool! I'll take one of them.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
no.
listen. If you do, I'm not gonna be like, "What the fuck?" Like, it's fine. Do you, right? If you're not hurting anybody. But if you offer me a balloon at a show, I'm probably gonna be like, "Nah, I'm good." Right? Like, it's not my thing. But like, I don't. But all right, I say that like I'm not gonna judge you, but pocket your balloon. Like, don't fucking just drop it. That's the one thing I see people drop their balloons. I'm like, "You fucking dirty
RFK
ass."
and RFK, the dead in '92. We have 3 tanks, right? Big boys, full tanks, like in a Subaru. We had them laid in the back of a Subaru and it had the seats down and took up everything. Like one guy drove the tanks in and made a fortune. We made almost $10,000 that afternoon. We go into the show, right? And we're just partying, having the time of our life. And they start with the Casey Jones whistle. And I look up and there's thousands of balloons being hit around by people. And it was just like this nitrous nightmare in my head with Casey Jones playing. I was like,
oh no.
What is going on here? Yeah, I was in that kind of headspace. But I tell you what, I paid all my bills for the whole rest of the summer from going to a Dead show. So you can't argue with that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. You're quite the entrepreneur at shows.
I'm gonna hit up the local brewery and be like, "Can you do me 10 cases really cheap, and I'll push your beer at Mondegreen? Maybe you get some new fans."
So I don't have to bring beer. Is that what you're saying?
I'm gonna try to work it. Couple cases of what do you like the lagers, right? You're a Budweiser, Bud Light guy.
Yeah, lager is the way to go.
Lager is
Especially at a fucking festival where it's like 100 degrees. I see these people drinking these heavy stout like ales and shit. And you're like, what the fuck are you doing? It's hot as hell out.
A nice Pilsner is crisp.
Yeah.
I'm
going to do some housekeeping, and we're going to do something unconventional, I think, and close a little bit early because I have to run, and it's 2 of us. And is that all right? I feel bad, but listen,
it's okay with me. You're leaving the fans wanting more. Are we doing panels and frames tomorrow?
Yeah, I think so. Somebody.
Okay,
well,
that's
no,
on another
shit.
YouTube channel.
All right. I don't know if I don't want to commit to it because T's out, so we may or may not be doing that tomorrow. But I know what we are doing is we are doing the After FALLON after show, 15 minutes after encore for every show this tour coming up, and member hangs at the set break. So if you haven't yet, join and come hang out with us at set break. Also, go check out the Discord. It's starting to pick up again. Really excited about that. Fishtails moving to Mondays. It had been on Sundays. I moved it to Mondays now that tour's around the corner because that's an off day. So we want to fill in on the days where you don't have content. You can check out Fishtails. It is coming out on this Monday. And Friday we'll probably have a review of the album so you can hear our fucking opinions about the new studio fish. Anything else? I think that's
well, next Tuesday, I think that's when the Tiny Digest drops. Hopefully we're going to do a quick microdose, maybe 10 minutes with a friend of the channel's who was there, who said he'd come on and talk a little bit about the actual experience.
Someone who did not spoil the set list.
Right, exactly. And then just remember on the 19th, After Fish After Show every night.
Yeah. Hey man, this was a nice cram-packed show. It was only 40 minutes, but I feel like we hit it. Good job, Kev.
We did you got kids, you got to go do that. That's cool.
Yeah, man, family shit. I gotta get this kitchen done too before the birthday party. I'm busting my ass on that. Mr. Dad, Mr. Home Improvement. You should see removing ceramic tile has to be the most tedious fucking thing on earth. It's been a lot, but anyway, thanks guys. We really appreciate it. We'll see you next time.
Sit, Ubu, sit.